Hi, thanks for watching. Today is the new release for Technique Junkies. All of the new release stamps are on sale for 15% off through June 8th. I'll have the website as well as the link to the products that I use listed below. Here's a look at the new stamps, which have several that are beach or ocean themed and a few that are 4th of July themed. And if you gotta have it all, there's a special price on the entire release if you purchase all the stamps as a bundle. And please make sure that you list in your notes when you go to place your order that Tracy Schultz sent you. Thanks so much. Let's get started. So here we have the envelope that contains the stamps from the new release. Let's go ahead and pour those out and go through each one of them one by one. As I said, a lot of the stamps this month have an ocean or beach theme. And the first one I'm going to show you is called Deep Sea Collage, which features an octopus, a fish, a compass, and some background of scales and some scripty handwriting as well. And it looks like a harp. Yeah. I'll get my instruments right here. So that's a really gorgeous background collage. I can't wait to create with that. Then we have it's called Big Wave. I love this one. It looks great when you heat emboss it, which is what we're going to create with today. So more to come on Big Wave. Next, we have a really great saying, let the ocean soothe your soul. I really like the font on this. It's sort of like a casual handwriting, and I think it looks really nice because it's bold. We have this great little vignette called Pier Sunset. So you've got the pier and the sun and the water. It's circle shaped, but it also has some waves going out to the side. That's going to look really nice, I think, with some colored pencils. Then we have a small sentiment, happiness comes in waves, just a perfect size for the front of your card. And it's going to go great with that one that's called Big Wave. This one says, grief is like the ocean, ebbing and flowing in waves, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy. All we can do is learn to swim. This one is called Waves of Grief. And I just fell in love with that sentiment. Then you guys know I like sunsets. I like anything that has to do with the sunset. This one is called Sunset Sentiment Set of 5. And I'll read you these sentiments. May every sunrise hold more promise and every sunset hold more peace. That's a really nice big sentiment. Another one says, sunset above, sand below, peace within. Sunsets are proof that endings can be beautiful too. That is a wonderful sentiment. Sunsets are proof that the simple things in life can be the most beautiful. And then let the sunset color your dream. Now I'm using my Rabbit Hole Designs embossing tool to lay some powder down on my piece of paper before I heat emboss. I apologize that my screen is a little bit crooked. I think my camera got bumped and got a little bit crooked. But the good news is you can still see the work that I'm doing. It's not completely out of screen. Oh, by the way, I have a discount code, which is TJ10Tracy. You can use that over at Technique Junkies for 10% off your order. This doesn't include any sale items, but it does include things like Catherine Puller inks, stencils, shimmering bliss sprays, eye zinc products, including the eye zinc 24 karat glitter paste, which I love. If you're not familiar with that, check out my playlist. And I have a playlist for Technique Junkies. And there are several videos there where I demonstrate how to create with the eye zinc products. Now back to our card. I'm using VersaFine Clair Warm Breeze Pigment Ink. This is a really nice color for the summer. Any kind of blue that sort of has a hint of turquoise would do nicely. I am using my homemade stamp positioning pressure tool to make sure that I get a full impression. And this is just gorgeous. Look at the line art on this image. This is the thing about red rubber stamps. You can get so much detail. It's just amazing how much detail you get. Just trying to get myself organized here. I want to use some sparkly blue embossing powder. I received it from a club kit at some point. I don't remember the manufacturer, but any kind of sparkly light blue embossing powder will do. If you don't like the glitter, you can always just get light blue embossing powder without the glitter, and it still would look great. You could also use a clear embossing powder or a clear embossing powder with glitter or holographic glitter. I think all of those options would be really nice for this project. I have some tape on the back of my panel. I'm just going to remove that. I sprinkle the powder on top of the image, and the VersaFine Clair inks are pigment inks, so they stay wet for a few minutes as they sit on top of your paper. And that makes them perfect to emboss with. All right. You can see how much sparkle is in this embossing powder. It's so much fun. And if you're not into that kind of sparkly embossing powder, you can just use the light blue. I think that would look great. And again, this is just stepping it up a notch. I think the stamp is gorgeous the way it is, but I wanted to do something extra. Isn't that what we say nowadays? I wanted to do something extra, or that was really extra. So I'm so excited because we are going to the beach. We are going to the ocean in a couple weeks. We're going to Myrtle Beach for our vacation. So I'm greatly looking forward to that. Haven't been there since 2019. Let's see. Oh, and I showed you several stamps from the new release in the beginning of my video. But I wanted to let you know that that's not all the new release. Because I am going to be away so much during the month of June, I just selected the stamps that I showed you instead of the entire collection, just because I won't have enough time to create with all them. And then I realized I left a piece of washi tape on the back of my card panel, so I have to stop, put my heat gun down, and get this off. Otherwise, it will just pretty much either melt or catch on fire because the heat gun is so powerful. Now, when you have really sparkly embossing powder, you can turn your heat gun on and heat the back of your card panel. This helps that embossing powder to start to melt without blowing it all over the place, because you're basically blowing hot air on it, and a lot of times that sparkle will just blow right off. That's the first thing that gets kind of blown away when you're doing your embossing powder, when you're heat embossing. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the front done. So yeah, I'll be away for a full week for my vacation in the middle of June. And then in early June, actually the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I'll be out of town for a conference for my church. So I'm going to be pretty much away from home, I think, a lot in June. So I did not take all of the stamps in this new release, although I would have loved to, because they're fantastic, right? So, but I had to just dial it back a little bit because I don't want to overcommit myself. But I'm having a lot of fun with this stamp. I think it's gorgeous. I just love that wave. You know, you've got the white riffs on top. You can just see like the texture. It's just a beautiful stamp. Let's do this again. And this time I'm going to do just straight embossing powder without the ink. So it's important to make sure you put some kind of powder down on your panel first before you do your heat embossing, because the oils from your fingers will transfer to this paper even though you can't see it. By laying the powder down, you're ensuring that only the parts that you want embossed are going to be sticky, and everything else should fall off as far as all the other locations on the paper. So I've got my Versamark ink, and we're going to go ahead and line the stamp up in my Tim Holtz stamping platform. All right. You can use any stamping platform that you have. Okay, so let's get this nice and Versamark. Let's use a lot of Versamark ink so this is nice and sticky, because the more you have on here, then you know you're going to get good coverage. It's such a large stamp that I want to make sure I get really good coverage. I have to use a homemade stamping tool that I created using a lid from a candle, because I need to put a lot of pressure down on this. I'm not good at using just my hands. I hold it up to the light. You can see faintly sort of the impression that it made. Actually, there's a little bit of ink left in the crevices, I guess, of the stamp, even though I cleaned it, because it was that blue ink. You can see like a really light blue. That's from the previous stamp, the previous time that I inked it up and stamped it. So this tool does really help to make sure that all the surface of the red rubber stamp is touching the paper. And it's easier, I think, with photopolymer stamps because you can see through them. You can kind of see the places that you're pushing and that need to be having a little bit more pressure. But just take a little bit of extra time with red rubber stamps. It's totally worth it, because you cannot get this kind of detail like in a photopolymer stamp. So the paper that I'm using is Accent Opaque 80 pound, which is a little bit of a heavier weight paper. I find that with this much embossing, I kind of like a heavier paper. You can use whatever paper you have on hand. It works with any kind of paper. It's just my personal preference. When I have such a large surface that I want to emboss, I like to have just a heavier paper, probably because then when I go to emboss it, the paper doesn't warp. Yeah. And I'm just trying to tap off all the extra glitter. There's a lot of glitter. I'm going to very carefully put this back in its container using my paper funnel. So, what plans do you have for the summer? Are you going on vacation anywhere? Maybe you're going to the beach too. I'd love to hear about what plans you have for vacation. Leave a comment below and tell me if you're going anywhere fun this summer. I will then pick a random comment to be a winner and do a giveaway. So, of a greeting card, one of these cards that I'm creating, as well as a small stamp set as my token of appreciation. So here we have both of the panels heat embossed. Oh, I kind of burnt that one a little bit in the corner. That's the problem with heat embossing. Sometimes you hold the tool a little bit too long and then you kind of singe your paper. But I think that's going to be okay because I will be using a die cut anyways to cut these panels out. All right, so next I have this sentiment, waves of happiness, and the sentiment, let the ocean soothe your soul. I'm also going to do the same color scheme with these stamps. I'm going to use Versamark ink to get them sticky, and then VersaFine Clair on top of that. But first I'll use my anti-static embossing tool, get some powder down on that, brush it around. That's what's nice about that tool. You can just brush a little bit of powder out. You don't have to worry about a whole bunch of powder coming out of a little bag. That little tool also keeps it from getting all over your fingers. Now I did fast forward this, obviously. I don't move that fast in real life, but for the sake of time and to make it so this video is not 25 minutes long, I decided I would use fast forward. So it's a very good setting to have when you're doing videos. All right, so in summary, Technique Junkies stamps are on sale, the new release, for 15% off now through June 8th. Go head over to Technique Junkies and get your new stamps. If you gotta have it all, there is a bundle that is discounted, which includes all of the stamps for this release. And don't forget to put in your comments of your checkout that Tracy Schultz sent you. And don't forget that if you're buying something else besides a new release stamp or something that's on sale, you can use my discount code TJ10Tracy to save 10%. So you can not only get the new ones for 15% off now through June 8th, but you can also find some really great complimentary stamps that were from a previously release and get yourself a nice discount on those. So I had that die that somebody gave me. I don't even know where it came from, but I just like the way it's really scalloped and fancy. And then, of course, I cut my sentiment with my corner chomper. So I made it rounded, sort of like a rounded rectangle. And I'm trying to decide here, do I want the blue background as a matte? And then I decide, no, I think the navy blue background that's behind the panel is enough. I don't think I need to also accent my sentiment, but I am going to pop my sentiment up because I want people to realize that it's, you know, a separate sentiment, not stuck on the wave. So that's my first card. And then for my second card, I'm using Let the Ocean Soothe Your Soul. I have a piece of like turquoise blue card for my card base. I have a piece of pearlescent blue for my matte layer, which I die cut. I'm going to put that down first. And then my Heat Emboss panel will go on top of this. If I can get it straight. I'm really the worst at getting these things straight. I always struggle, it seems. Yeah, I'm just using some art glitter glue. I'm using my embossing, my bone folder just to get that to lay flat. And then it looks really nice, just regular heat emboss without the extra ink on top. It just looks really nice. So then I have a piece of that turquoise blue paper, which I'm using as a matte. My sentiment I did die cut with the stitched rectangle die that matches the same stitched rectangle die I used for my matte layer. That's that pearlescent paper, and then my stamped panel. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and just put the sentiment right on top of that matte, and then the card will be pretty much done. So stay tuned. I have some still photographs that I'd like you to see. Photos of my finished cards. Here's my first card. And then for my second card, I did some staging, putting some seashells around the card. And then I also turned it at an angle so that you could get a better look at that embossing effect. You can see how it's shiny. And then here's another one. I like this photo the best. I think it really shows off that way that the embossing powder accented the spray of the wave as it's curling. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified of all my future videos. Please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment so that you're entered into my giveaway. The question is, do you have any plans for vacation this summer? Thanks so much. Have a hopeful day. Bye-bye.